In the United States, the state of Rhode Island will fit inside of the state of Alaska 425 times. This position, it's black to play. Black plays the move king to e6, and he's trying to stop white's pawn from becoming a queen. Now, there's a couple of interesting things about flank pawns, so A pawns and H pawns, that you should be aware of. So the first one I want to show you is over here. If you're ever in a position like this, you will never be able to win. Even if you managed to, let's just say, get your king in front of the pawn, which is a lot of times a good thing to do, the king is always going to be able to go back and forth. And you can never really force the king out of the corner. The best case that you could do would be to push the pawn like this, and you would get a stalemate. Because of this, you can never really win the game with the flank pawn. They're the worst pawns to try to win against the king with. Let's jump over to this position. Same idea, except now I've given white a bishop. And when you first look at this, you probably think, well, now it should definitely be an easy win, because certainly the bishop can help the pawn, right? Actually, that's wrong. And the reason has to do with the fact that the bishop cannot control the corner square. So if this bishop was on a dark square, this would be a different story. But because it's not, you run into the same problem. The problem is that you can never force the king out of the corner. Because if you ever try to do something like this, let's just say check, and you push your pawn forward, again, it's a stalemate. Notice how the bishop is cutting off where the king wants to go. And you can never force the king out of the corner. You just can't do it. So this is kind of a well-known principle that flank pawns, even if you have a bishop, it's going to be a draw unless the bishop can cover the corner square. So like I mentioned, if this bishop was on a dark square, we could simply put it here. It would force the king out of the corner, and we could very easily push our pawn up and win. But in this case, we can't. Now, going back to this position, I'm sure you can see where this is going. It's a dark square. Bishop's on the wrong color. It looks like it's going to be a draw after black makes a beeline for the corner with their king. However, despite everything that I just told you, it's white to play and win from this position. How in the world can white do it? If you'd like to pause, try to find the winning move. Well, if you had a chance to look at that, the winning move in this position is the move h6. And if you don't play h6, you play anything else, like let's just say you try to bring your king up, well, then the game is going to be a draw, because black simply goes here. Whatever you do, they simply go here, run into the corner, and it's a draw just like we mentioned. But the move h6 does something very interesting. And before I give it away, let's keep going. So black's going to play king to f6. Again, it's white to play and win. What move should you play? If you got a chance to look at that, you just simply bring your king up, because eventually you are going to need to bring your king up. And now is the tricky moment in the puzzle. Black plays king to f7, making a beeline for the corner. White to play and win. What should you play? If you had a chance to look at that, here is the key move to this entire puzzle. It's bishop to h7. It's such a mind-boggling move, because like, why are we blocking our pawn? Well, we're creating a blockade with the bishop and the pawn, preventing black's king from getting to the corner. Because remember, once the king gets to the corner, it's all over. We have no more tricks, right? That's what I explained. But if we can keep the king out of there, which we can, then it's a different story. Notice if the king comes up here, we're just going to jump around, and eventually we're going to slide over, force the king back. We're going to come up, and notice what we've done. We've taken away all of black's options, forcing them to go away, and then the king comes up. Now we can safely move our bishop and push the pawn, and we win. It's a fascinating position. And by the way, this is the only way to do it. If you back here thought maybe you could throw in the check this way, it's not the same, because now we allow king to g6 and we simply lose our pawn, right? So fascinating position. When I first saw it, I kind of couldn't believe it, because I knew, that this normally is always a draw. The pawn, if the bishop is the wrong color, you can't win once the king gets there. And it kind of looked from a quick glance like the king was definitely going to be able to get into the corner. But once you play h6, whenever the king goes to f7, bishop to h7 just creates that blockade, and there's no way through. So fascinating endgame there. And it's also worth pointing out that your king does need to be close, because once black tries to come around this way, you have to cut that off. If you imagine if we played a move like this, well, we would also draw the game, because now the king could come up and take the pawn. So a lot of little things, but this is a good one to remember if you're ever in this situation in one of your games. Hope you guys learned something, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Stay sharp, play smart, and take care.